Yo, what's up? This is Mr. Giancarlo with What's Up with Giancarlo. All right, today we're going over topic 2, lesson 5. Okay, so it is apply proportional reasoning to solve problems. The lesson goal for today is I can determine whether a relationship is proportional and use representations to solve problems. That is what you'll be able to do after this lesson. Okay, let's move on to example 1. Example 1, translate a written description to a table. The ratio of collectible cards Deshaun owns to cards that Stephanie owns is 5-2. Stephanie has 36 cards. How will the ratio of Deshaun's cards to Stephanie's cards change if they both sell half their cards? Explain. All right. So let's say this is just one card each. Okay. One, 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 one. That's five to Stephanie's one, two, two. Okay. So I'm going to show you two ways to see how many cards Deshaun owns. Okay. The first way is I'm going to use a proportion. And a proportion is two equivalent ratios. Okay. So we'll call it cards in hand. Cards in hand to total. Total cards. So that's what I'm doing for Stephanie and Deshaun. So for Stephanie, I've got two cards in hand, and her total amount is 36 cards. So Deshaun has five cards in his hand, and then we don't know, so we're going to make it a variable x. Okay? So the first way, this is our proportion, and we have to cross multiply to solve how many cards Deshaun owns, and then we can work out the question that they're asking us. So we cross multiply, make our arrows showing what we're going to multiply. And as you see, the arrows make the little x knowing that we're multiplying, okay? So we get 2 times x, which is 2x, and that equals 36 times 5. 5 times 6 would be 30, so I put my 0 down. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 would be 18, so it would be 180, okay? Now what I'm going to do is, since this is multiplication, I have to do the opposite to solve for x. So therefore, I'm going to divide by 2, and whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other to keep it equal. All right? So I divide 180 by 2, so I get x equals 180 divided by 2. I get 2 divided by 18, that's 9, and then 0 can't 0 2 goes into 0 0 times. So it is 90. So D for Deshaun has 90 cards, and S for Stephanie has 36 cards. So they're saying, how will the ratio of Deshaun's cards to Stephanie's cards change if they both sell half their cards? So selling half their cards, it would be 90 divided by 2 and 36 divided by 2. All right. So let's just separate this. Oop, separate this from all that. So we know this is the amount of cards that they have, and now we have to divide them by 2. So now we get 90 divided by 2 is 45, compared to Stephanie's 36 divided by 2 is 18. When I simplify this, I have to find my GCF, and the GCF of these would be 19. So I divide them both by 9, and that will give me the ratio of 5/2. The ratio does not change because both, I'm selling half of their cards. So I will change it with a constant of proportionality of dividing by 2 or multiplying by 1/2. So as long as I'm doing the same thing to both of them, and it's proportional, there's a proportional reasoning, it will remain the same. The ratio will remain the same. Okay? So like I said, I was going to show you two ways to find that Deshaun has 90 cards? The second way is right here. Okay? So they write the ratio of 5 to 2, and then that equals the ratio of how many cards they have total, which we know that the 2 relates to Stephanie, which she has 36, and the 5 relates to Deshaun, which we don't know yet. Or, well, we do, but we're pretending we don't. So how do I get from 2 to 36? Hmm. Well, I can do 36 divided by 2 to find out 18. So what I would do is 2 times 18, and that gets me to 36. So now what do I do 5 times what? Well, whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So it's 5 times 18. And when we work that out, 5 times 8 is 40. Put my 0 down and then carry the 4. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 4 is 90. So we find out that Deshaun has 90 cards. So those are the two ways that you can solve how many cards Deshaun has, and then you can work it out from there. And they tell you right here, after they sell their cards, the ratio is 45 over 18, or simplified 5 over 2, where it will not change as long as the ratio is equivalent and you can use proportional reasoning. All right? Okay. So here's the example one, try it. I will tell you this right now, they are using the same amount of cards from the example one. Okay? So D has 90 cards and Stephanie has 36 cards. Okay? Go ahead, do the try it. I'll give you guys a few seconds to pause it, okay? Hopefully you guys paused it by now and did the whole problem by yourself. So it's solving this problem is as easy as reading it, okay? So we know that D has 90 cards and Stephanie has 36. So after selling half their card collections, divided by 2, divided by 2, we already know it's 45 and 18. All right. Deshaun and Stephanie each buy 9 new cards. So they both buy 9 new cards. So what does that mean? I'm adding 9 cards to both of them. Okay. So that'll equal 45 plus 9 is 54. And then 18 plus 9 is 27. So my new ratio would be 54, 54 over 27. But if I simplify this with the greatest common factor, if I divide them both by the greatest common factor, it would be 27 goes into both of them. So I would divide them both by 27, divide by 27, and then I get 2 over 1 or 2 to 1, and that is my answer. That is my ratio for the number of cards for Deshaun has to the number of Stephanie has after all the work we do. Okay? It's not that hard. All you have to do is just read carefully and really slow down your reading it as you're reading it and just work it out as you're reading it. So go along and work out what it tells you to work out. All right? So let's move on. Let's move on now. Example 2. Recognize when to use proportional reasoning. Martin is 6 years old when his sister Cassandra is 3 years old. How old will Martin be when Cassandra is 6 years old? So, class, they give us a little table. Hopefully, you guys can figure it out without the table, but I mean, whatever, who cares? We've got a table. They make it easy on us. We got a table. So, we look at Martin's age going from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, okay? We've got Cassandra's age going from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. As we can see, Cassandra, starting at 3 years old and going to 6 years old, we multiply by 2. That's how that works. To get from 3 to 6, you multiply by 2, and that gives you 6. Okay? But when Martin is 6, he is going to 9 because it's only 3 years. So going from 6 to 9, you're only multiplying by 1.5. So between these two between these two quantities, there is no constant of proportionality. Okay? They are not proportional. It does not work. You cannot use proportional reasoning. Okay? So hopefully everybody understands that. If you don't, rewind. There is no constant of proportionality. Okay? Okay, cool. Example 3. Translate a written description to an equation. A video streaming service charged Brian $143.84 for a full year of access. Brian thinks he was not charged the correct amount. What should Brian say when he calls customer service? Well, we should all remember that the constant of proportionality is K, which is only $8.99 a month. Therefore, that's the K. And we all know the equation was y equals kx, right? So therefore, the k is 8.99 and then x. And to solve how much he should have paid for a year, y is the amount that he should have paid, and then we do 8.99 times 12. Okay? And like they show us over here, y equals 107.88. Okay? So Brian has an option of saying, hey, you overcharged me. He calls them and gets customer service, obviously, and says, hey, you overcharged me. You charged me this much when I should have paid this much. Okay? So Brian subtracts and finds out that $35.96 is how much he's owed. And he's like, hey, y'all better give me my money. Okay? I'm not happy about this. I want my money back. So they can give him a credit of $35.96 back to his credit card. And that's one option he can do. Or the other option, he can find out what X is by dividing everything. He puts the amount he paid and then divide it by the amount monthly. He pays monthly. And he finds out that it was 16 months of service he paid for. That's how much he paid. That's how much they charged him. So he says, either you give me my money back, or after the year is up, you give me 4 extra months of service because that's how much I paid for. I really paid for 16 months, not 12. So I get my money back or I get 4 months of free online service, even though it's not really free because he already paid for it. All right. All right. So here it is. Work on the example 3, try it. Go ahead. I'll give you guys 3 seconds to pause it. All right. Hopefully you paused it in that amount of time. Example 3, translate a written description to an equation. Try it. A florist makes bouquets that include 50 orange blossoms and 7 hibiscus. If the florist orders 1,050 orange blossoms and 140 hibiscus, there will be leftover flowers. How can the florist adjust the order so there are no leftover flowers? Well, with 1,050 orange blossoms, if you do the math, you can get 21 bouquets. Okay? With 140 hibiscus and 7 going into it, you can get 20 bouquets. So, option 1, the florist can option 1, florist can order 50 less orange blossoms. Option 2, order 7 more hibiscus. And that'll work. So you won't have any leftovers, okay? It depends. Um, Option 1, you get 20 bouquets. Option 2, you get 21 bouquets, okay? And that's the end of the lesson. Here's the key concepts if you want to look it over, okay? Glad everybody tuned in. And remember, if you're watching, you're a part of the class. See you next time, everybody.